super strength, invulnerability, regeneration, and even self-sustenance. Many underestimate the Steel Mutant, who is one of the most powerful X-Men in combat. From standing toe-to-toe with heavyweights to surviving months of torture, he proves why fans love him so much. All this and more is what we'll explore in today's video. Origin: Piotr Rasputin was born in a humble village in rural Russia and discovered his abilities early on due to being a mutant. He was the brother of the famous cosmonaut Mikhail Rasputin and the older brother of Illyana Rasputin, also a mutant known as Magik. As a side note, a cosmonaut is a person trained to command, pilot, and serve aboard a spacecraft, the Russian equivalent of an astronaut. Piotr's favorite pastime was drawing and painting, which he was truly talented at, but he set it aside to use his enhanced strength to help his family and community. On one occasion, Piotr's younger sister, Illyana, was about to be struck by a runaway tractor, and Colossus used his powers to save her. At that moment, Professor Xavier located him using Cerebro and contacted him to join a new team of mutants to rescue the original X-Men. Colossus agreed to leave his community to help save the X-Men from Krakoa, the sentient mutant island, and it was there that Xavier gave him the code name Colossus. After the victory and the team's rescue, Colossus stayed in America with Xavier, permanently joining his students as part of the new team formation. Stats: Colossus, like any main character focused on strength, is very tall and extremely muscular. He stands at an impressive 1.98 meters in his normal form, and in his armored form, he gains a few centimeters, reaching 2.26 meters. As for his weight, in his regular human form, he weighs around 113 kilograms, while in his armored form, he weighs 226 kilograms, double his original weight. In his armored form, his eyes turn silver and his hair is black. In his human form, his eyes are blue and his hair remains the same color. But if you're enjoying the video so far, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel to help us continue growing, and together, we'll reach the top of all YouTube channels. Physiology: like the vast majority of mutants, Colossus's powers come exclusively from his mutation. This rule, of course, does not apply to everyone, such as his sister, who has a deep knowledge of magic and uses her mythical sword more frequently than her powers. But this is not the case for the Russian mutant, who relies solely on his raw strength and nothing else. Colossus's mutation gives him the ability to mimic metal, converting all the tissues in his body into an organic metal form similar to carbon or osmium. The transformation process is virtually instantaneous, and Colossus can transform at will. The conversion of flesh and bone into organic steel is carried out by a psionic interface between his brain and a form of osmium ions, an extremely dense metal located in another dimension. When he desires to transform, Colossus essentially swaps osmium atoms for his carbon atoms. The psionic interface with this other dimension recreates Colossus's entire body using metallic organic materials that are functionally similar. For a long time, it was implied that his transformation was merely armor, something that enveloped his body, but in reality, his entire internal structure also turns to metal. He can remain in this metallic form for an indefinite period, even staying in it for months on certain occasions. By his own choice, he has stayed in this form for up to 5 days, but there have been times when he was at the mercy of villains and needed to remain in this form for much longer. It's important to note that once he transforms, he only returns to his normal state if he consciously chooses to. But if he becomes unconscious, he will revert to his human form. Although he transforms into metal, his speed and agility are not altered, allowing him to move in the same way as a regular human. Of course, I can't leave out his main attribute boost when he activates his powers, which is his super strength. For many years, Colossus was the primary benchmark for strength among the X-Men and one of the key heavyweights of the publisher. There was even a time when he broke apart an ice mountain that neither Doctor Strange with his magic, nor Storm, nor Wolverine could break together. He's also able to lift the ship that transports the X-Men without much trouble and has faced heavyweights like the Hulk and the Juggernaut. However, unlike the other two, Colossus's feats of strength were not updated over time, so he fell behind in terms of raw power, being surpassed by characters he should be able to face on equal terms. Another power, which is almost obvious given the nature of his mutation, is his resistance and near invulnerability. He has been able to withstand blows from the Juggernaut and Gladiator, even staying on his feet in the fight against them before eventually falling. He's had buildings collapse on top of him and lifted them as if they were nothing, can break through brick walls, and endure punches capable of destroying airplanes with little trouble. He has even been pierced by Wolverine's claws and continued fighting despite the injury that went through his steel skin. Another factor related to his resistance is his ability for self-sustenance in his organic form. Once transformed, Colossus doesn't need to eat, sleep, or even breathe, as his organs are now made of metal, making these biological needs irrelevant to him. This was proven when he remained in his metal form for months while undergoing government experiments during yet another conflict related to mutants. The X-Men believed he was dead at the time and ended up finding him by accident, where he had survived all that time due to his mutation. Another detail about his mutation is that he can heal from more severe injuries, but there's a catch. He doesn't possess super regeneration, so the damage done to his body doesn't just vanish and heal on its own. A good example of this was his fight against the Hulk in his most powerful form. The Hulk, who can break worlds and came directly from Sakaar seeking revenge, fought Colossus. Colossus was able to withstand a few moments of the fight, but the difference in power between them was massive, and the Hulk obviously overpowered him with little difficulty. The problem was that the Hulk wasn't in the mood for conversation, and to defeat Colossus, he twisted both of his arms, rendering them useless. And this is where Colossus's healing comes into play. He didn't necessarily heal, but Beast used equipment to superheat his arms and make the metal more malleable. This way, they were able to reposition his arms, and Colossus could continue his life normally. So, he can heal, in a sense, but would need a nearby metalworking facility to perform the process I mentioned. Recently, he had a fight against Wolverine, demonstrating how strong and resistant he can be, but still losing if he receives a fatal blow. They fought in Russia, and the battle ended with Colossus having his head pierced by Wolverine's claws and his stomach ripped open, something any character with a strong healing factor could withstand. Weaknesses. Despite being made of an extremely durable metal, Colossus has shown some weaknesses and vulnerabilities that can be exploited to hurt him. One of these is vibranium, as a knife made from this material was once able to pierce his armor and injure his heart. Another metal that can do the same is adamantium, and objects or weapons like Wolverine's claws can prove lethal to the Russian powerhouse. As I just mentioned, a battle between the two was decided simply by the fact that one of their metals was superior to the others. Additionally, he doesn't have regeneration, so if he were crushed by someone stronger, like the Hulk I've mentioned, he would remain crushed until he figured out a way to return to normal or regress to his human form. But that's it for today's video, with everything about the physiology of the mutant Colossus. If you enjoyed learning more about him, leave a like and subscribe to keep following along. Also, leave your suggestions for new videos and characters you'd like to see a complete explanation of here on the channel.